I've been avoiding this for a long time. I've deliberately avoided Tears of the Kingdom since I created the channel for kind of multiple reasons. It's been a game I've really wrestled with in terms of my thoughts and my feelings. And also secondly, for those who don't know, it is the 1000 subscriber goal that I will release a Tears of the Kingdom retrospective. But with this channel now on its 16th, 17th video, I honestly can't remember the number now, it's kind of been notable by its absence. So I thought I want to just sit down this week and I want to talk about what I believe is one of Tears of the Kingdom's biggest problems. You may totally disagree with me, and that is totally fine. I do not expect you watching this video with me right now to fully agree with everything I say. But let this be kind of a warm-up or a precursor to that eventual retrospective whenever we get there at 1000 subscribers. But I just want to talk to you about the storytelling of Tears of the Kingdom. So welcome back to the Zelda Realm channel. My name is Joe. If you haven't been here before, it's great to have you. If you're back, welcome back. As always, last week's comments are on screen. Thanks so much for all your support. And if you want to get featured in next week's video, just comment in this video down below and I'll put you up where these two comments are now. As I've said before, we're marching towards that 1000 subscriber goal, and my aim is to hit that by the end of the year. So if you want to help me out, we've got 10 months, we've got loads of time. Just hit the subscribe button and that will be great. The relevant links to things, you can just see them down below. I'm not going to waffle into them too much, but you can see Patreon and the second channel, links down below. Go support me whatever way you want. I appreciate it very much, but I just want to get stuck into the video, so let's do this. I'm going to do my very best to not go into my opinion of the game as a whole. I just want to focus specifically on the telling of Tears of the Kingdom's story and why I feel that it was done poorly from a storytelling point of view, even though it worked perfectly in Breath of the Wild. So what is the main difference? If we go back to Breath of the Wild first before we go to Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild is a story about someone who has no memories. So whenever we're going around the world to piece together the memories, because we as the player already have a rough idea of what's happened in Breath of the Wild story, if you think about it, we know it's like an apocalyptic Hyrule that suffered a major apocalyptic event 100 years prior. When we go to get these memories, it doesn't really matter what sequence we get them in, because ultimately we kind of have a rough idea of what's happening. When we do eventually get all the pieces, we can go back, we can figure out kind of the order of things, but actually they're done in such a way that not the order of finding them is not necessary in any way. You can find memory 8 first and it will be great, and then you can find memory 3 second, and then you can just jump between them and eventually you'll piece together what happened. And I think that was a really cool way to tell the story. Personally, I do feel it's a bit of a cop-out, the way the stories are told, but I know that the design philosophy was to be like, we need this game to be the freest thing that's ever been made, ever in history. We want players to have the ability to do whatever they want, whenever they want. And so, Breath of the Wild's story, it works. Fast forward 6 years later, we get Breath of the Wild's sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, which, you know, comes out to this massive rave reviews. Critics are going mad for it. Even the previews, I remember at the time, the previews were absolutely crazy. And I remember sitting and playing it, and the thing that really jumped out to me was the way in which the story was told. Because the thing is, Tears of the Kingdom has an epic story, like a really cool story, really unique ideas, some really great emotional beats in there, and even the way the game starts, it's very like, oh, this is a mystery, but also this is really cool and innovative, we haven't seen this really before, and the way it kind of just picks up where we left off and all, I just thought that's really cool. But once again, the way in which they decide to tell Tears of the Kingdom story is done in exactly the same way as Breath of the Wild, which, on the surface, might not seem a problem because I've just spent a minute and a half saying why the way they told the story in Breath of the Wild was so good. However, the problem is with Tears of the Kingdom, the story is not about gathering Link's memories. I'm cautious to dive too deep into the story because I feel like if I do, we'll be here for a long time. Tears of the Kingdom, the story surrounding it is a mystery. We as the player, we don't really know what's going on. And whenever we play with the context of Link, he doesn't know what's going on. And all the people of Hyrule, they also don't know what's going on. So we have this really interesting change of theme where in Breath of the Wild, everybody knew what was going on apart from Link. In Tears of the Kingdom, literally nobody knows what's going on and everybody's confused. So, we go for the same storytelling method because if it worked in Breath of the Wild, surely it worked in Tears of the Kingdom. However, there is one significant major flaw, I feel, in the way the story is told. And simply put, it's a mystery game has to be solved in order. You cannot, well you can go and jump between, but then none of it makes sense, and the reality is that you will spoil something major later on if you pick it up early. So, how does the game try to rectify this? Well, you're very, very clearly kind of pushed towards the first one. So you're pushed towards that first geoglyph. Imp is there. You read you see the memory. You listen to that back, and then she kind of goes off, and you meet up with her again later on down the line in a room that has the geoglyphs from left to right in order, and it's basically the game saying these are the order in which you need. These are the order of the geoglyphs and the order of the memories, which is fine. So for players, it's there for you. You can see it and you can do it. However, the reality is that the direction that the game takes you with its story does not match the way in which the geoglyphs are ordered around the world. So it's not like, what Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild do very, very well is subtly push you in a direction. So if you want to really flesh out the game to its best, the game does a really great job of, right, here's where you should go first. So in Tears of the Kingdom, go to Rito Village first. It kind of pushes you in that direction. But unfortunately, the geoglyphs are not ordered in that way. And so it becomes this real interesting situation where, once again, Hyrule is absolutely ginormous and huge in size. So me as a player, if I randomly bump into a geoglyph, I'm going to want to just watch that geoglyph there and then, because it's going to be a long run back for me to go and watch that in order. And if we are encouraging player freedom, that's what they're doing in all of these games, then it would make sense that we should be able to watch or interact with the geoglyphs in any order. The problem is, if you go to like geoglyph 10 or 11 in, let's say it's your third or fourth geoglyph, basically everything that happens up to that point becomes almost irrelevant, because there's like a major twist that you just get shown that sets the story in motion. But then you come back and then Link, there's no reaction. So one of the geoglyphs, we learn about kind of the Phantom Zelda, the one that's being puppeted about that isn't real kind of thing that is part of the story from years ago. And we know throughout Tears of the Kingdom that people are talking about, oh, I saw Zelda doing this and acting weird and she was up there and blah blah blah. And for us the player, and for Link, it should be pretty obvious that that isn't actually Zelda. And so whenever people are interacting with Link in the game, there's no way that Link just kind of sits and goes, yeah, yeah, that is weird. Why would Zelda do that? Rather than saying, well, that's not actually Zelda. I've seen this, and that's not actually Zelda. So that's the first problem with storytelling, is it's not overly immersive in nature. You might say to me, but this is the Legend of Zelda we're talking about. It's not necessarily all about immersive storytelling, and I totally take the point. It's just that it becomes for me a little bit flawed whenever it's so kind of painful in the way that it's done. The other thing I want to also highlight then, and a lot of people have spoken about these before, and I think most of us are on the same page here, are the cutscenes that play out at the end of each of the 4 or 5 dungeons, whatever way you want to look at them. Because they're identical. There's no story progression. They are essentially the same cutscene told from the perspective of each of the different descendants or sages or however you want to call them. So once you've completed the first one, really interesting. So first time you see it, it's like, this is really cool, really interesting. Then you go and do the second one and you're like, hang on, this is like the same as the one I've seen before. And then you do the third one, and then you do the fourth one, and you realise that there's no difference at the end of the dungeons. They are the same thing. And I just feel that we need, if we're going to do open world Zelda in the future, which I think we are, I think we need to swing back towards the middle ground between player freedom and storytelling. You look at some of the best open world games that exist. You look at Red Dead Redemption 2, or you look at The Witcher 3. The way their stories are told makes sense. It's like a linear progression where you don't find out anything that you're not supposed to find out until you find that out. So, for me, that's Tears of the Kingdom's biggest problem. And it's a shame, really, because the story that Tears of the Kingdom tells is one of Zelda's better stories. Ironically, this is the thing. Like, this is a really good Zelda story. It's really emotional. It's really impactful. Especially that ending. You know, that's one of the things that they really learned from Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild, despite the story being told really well, had a complete lack of story. That was kind of the problem. And it's like, great game, no substance. No substance in its story. Tears of the Kingdom, the story is really great, and it really makes you feel a connection to the characters, like the supporting characters as well. And they did a really great job of making you feel like part of like almost like a resistance army or something along those lines. But just the way the story is told, it just, you could end up spoiling yourself if you didn't know what you're supposed to be doing, and that, you know, that's a real shame in itself. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Again, I've always said this, but if you love Tears of the Kingdom, you love the story, and you love the way it's told, then genuinely I am like happy for you in every sense of the word. Like, if that's what you love, and that's fantastic. Just my opinion is, it wasn't told that well, I didn't feel. And if you like this kind of thing, please do subscribe, because I will be doing a full retrospective all on the build-up, the launch, the gameplay, my personal opinion of Tears of the Kingdom, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think it's going to match most people's, so stick around for that. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video, and if you did like this video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and come back next week for more, because there's always a video up every Sunday here on the channel. So until then, I've been the Zelda Realm. I'll see you soon.